Boogity right. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna get into a topic that we often don't get into too much because people a little sensitive, but we're breaking out of that. I feel like society is a little open to have more honest conversation, and we're going to talk about the challenges men face in modern dating. For a long time, it was the other way around, where we talked about the challenges that maybe women face, and there's still some that are there, of course, but we're going to focus on men's challenges. We're going to get into the instincts that drive us as men and women, the evolving financial dynamic that we have now that we probably never had in the history of the world, from my understanding, and how that affects the genders, and how social media has reshaped our perception of what's out there and how we connect. So historically, men have been seen as providers, and the protectors, and our bodies seem to align with that. We're stronger, we're more interested in things, and the activities that we do seem to be driven by biological factors and not necessarily societal norms. I think what we do in society is an expression of our instincts. I think that's true on both ends. That's pretty obvious, I think, of what we've confused the conversation. And psychologists like to call this the Zeus instinct, and it's just the nature that encapsulates men's desire to offer security and resources to their partner and offspring. But things have changed the last 70 years. A lot of people forget that this modern world that we're living in is an experiment. It is new. It's never been. You have to understand that historically, we could not survive on our own. This is very unique. This is not common in the human history, right? It's never been that you can live on your own and cook for yourself. It's always been a team effort, and this is definitely the exception, this experiment in the modern world that we have. And I think it's great in so many ways, but in this dating dynamic, I think it does affect it. These traditional roles that we usually would find ourselves to survive in the history of mankind is no longer here. More women are achieving financial independence. The male instinct to provide can sometimes feel redundant or not necessary, or it needs to be at a certain expectation for that person, that lady, that woman, whatever her status is, to desire that person, leading to a lot of confusion, leading to dissatisfaction and struggles in men sometimes. So let's get into the numbers a little bit. According to recent data, about 40.8% of U.S. households earn over $100,000 in 2024. To be in the top 10% of earners, a household needed to make at least $234,769. So why are these figures important? Because studies have shown that women prefer to date people who make equal to them or more. So what's going on here? So the more successful a woman is financially, the smaller the pool is. And I was thinking about this when I was doing the video. I said, okay, that might have been true historically. So what's the difference now? Okay, so here's what I came up with. If you lived in a small town before social media, of course you're going to want to date the person who you like the most, that comes from the best family, and everybody knew, the top 20%. But then once you figured out, okay, well, those men or those women, the top ones, according to, whatever societal norm or whatever your values are taken, then you go down to the next tier. I think here is where social media comes in and kind of creates an illusion of more options. Whereas when we lived in small towns before social media, we already knew the pool. Now the pool has extended to even the world. But is that realistic? Is that really within your grasp of options? And I think the answer is no, but it does give you the perception. A lot of people connect on social media, from different countries. I've heard of situations where someone will fly someone out from one state to another state, from another country to another country. But is that really going to lead to a relationship? I don't think so. And so this is what mixes up this whole dating dynamic and the frustration for men. This 80-20 rule is that 80% of women want to date 20% the men. But guys, this has been around historically, but I think what makes it more challenging, or makes it more of an illusion, is the social media component. It creates a competitive environment that I don't think really exists. But this is something that we're learning along the way. Look, we are living in a technological boom And so sometimes the technology is advancing faster than we're understanding how it affects everything. But this is part of this frustration in the dating pool and why there's more single people now more than ever and less people are getting married. The other thing too is the gamification of dating, via social media apps. Now we have dating apps, and swiping left or right can really dehumanize the experience. You see, back before social media, you had to go up to someone, ask for the number, have the courage to ask for the number, build rapport. And that number was a little bit more special. It was a little more unique. You couldn't wait to get home and, when do I call? And you spent time building the relationship, humanizing the relationship. And you valued the connection because it cost you something. And that's something that a lot of men who are, a bit younger don't know what that's like. And that's a lot of women don't know what that's like. So now how do you do it? You go to Facebook, you go to social media, you add someone, you send a message and wow, you made a connection, but did you really? And is it unique? And what did it cost you? So I think all this gamification, this swiping left or right, really has stripped away the nuances of human connection and meaning. And that's why most of the dating apps, if you look at the research, they don't really lead to meaningful relationships or marriage because there isn't anything that's anchoring it down. And that's another frustration that's happening here amongst, men and women, actually. Part of this modern technology that is advancing and it's really causing a ripple effect in how we connect in our partners. So where does that leave us, guys? What do we do now? I've heard men complain how women just want a guy with money. The women want a man who can protect them and provide. That's never going to change. That's going to be there forever. I don't think those instincts are going to go away because I think it's in our DNA. So what's the next step? What can we do? So here's what I think that I've seen both professionally and personally. I think men often make detrimental choices because of this frustration in their dating lives, and to avoid loneliness. I've encountered men who will sacrifice their integrity, will sacrifice their beliefs, or sacrifice their time to date someone who isn't compatible for them. I made a video on the communication isn't really the most important thing in a relationship. It's actual compatibility, in my opinion. And so they date someone that doesn't have the shared values. So this is where I put it on the men. In that they haven't recognized the lines they need to draw and not succumb to their impulses by going into an unfulfilling relationship or someone that they're missing like 50% of the things that you're looking for, but they're really beautiful and they're really attractive or, whatever it may be. And it's like, that's not going to work. And I think men have betrayed themselves in that way and really have allowed this whole problem to exacerbate. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I think it's important to recall your values. It's important to when you're evaluating a partner, and you'll find that can really filter out a lot of individuals that just don't align with what you're looking for. And yeah, that can create loneliness and it's frustrating, but it's a lot better than getting involved with someone and then getting married and then getting divorced later, or investing all this money with someone only to find out, man, this didn't lead anywhere. I wasted my time. This person's, flaky. And it's just better than that. You have to look at the big picture. You can't just look at the small picture. This is going to sound corny and cliche, but you got to embrace the solitude. What do you mean embrace the solitude? Well, you need to do something with your time while you're alone. What are you doing while you're alone? Are you just doom scrolling, as they call it? Or do you have a plan? Do you have a vision? Are you working towards something? Are you contributing to the community? You need to stay busy with something and focus on your journey and your path. I think what happens is a lot of men, instead of focusing on moving forward and saying, hey, this is my goal, this is what I want to achieve, you start dating someone, and instead of having this vision, you're totally focused on this person and you stray away, and then you start making poor choices. What you want is you want to make sure you're walking down this vision, and if you meet someone, hey, would you like to come accompany me in my journey? Let's go ahead. And if it doesn't work out, sorry, you still keep moving forward. What a lot of you men do is you're moving forward, you meet a woman that isn't compatible, and then you start walking her journey and you feel lost, and then that woman sees you weak, sees you lost and become unattracted. So you need to focus on some goals and some visions to ensure that no matter what happens in your life, you know your path and you're not going to get lost and you're not going to be distracted by a person who isn't compatible with you. And this is going to clear up some of that dating frustration that you have going on. There is a lot of power in keeping yourself busy in something that is worthwhile and worth your time. If you don't got anything going on, if you're at home being a bum, if you're at home, overweight, out of shape, and you're not doing anything about it, and you're frustrated about dating, I mean, really, you know, the blame is really on you guys. You got to make sure you hold yourself accountable. Draw the lines of the things that you are not willing to succumb to. What are your hard limits? What are you not willing to put up with? And the moment that you have that discipline and have that ability to walk away from any unhealthy relationship, that makes you more unattractive. But the only way you can walk away from it is that you have a vision, you have a goal that you're working toward that's worth not sacrificing for an individual that isn't meeting the criteria. See, I think women have done a better job than men in this area. And I think that's why men are very frustrated. And, you know, I just wanted to make this video to express that because I've been hearing a lot of negativity out there. And while a lot of it is true, a lot of the ladies out there, you ladies, you know, you're becoming something else. I always start within myself in my life. Anytime there's something going on wrong in my life, I start within myself. And this whole dating thing, we need to get better at drawing the line and not giving into things that aren't aligning with us. Okay, if you enjoyed the content, hit a like and subscribe. Give me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. It helps the channel grow. Thank you for stopping by, and remember, ego isn't your amigo.